Welcome back to the Elite Investor Show. I'm joined by a special guest here today with us, Sean Castro. Sean, you're 21 years old. We just gave you an award at the last Elite Investor event, doing nearly $250,000 the same year that you turned 21. Here's the crazy thing about you. Before I give you a chance to chat, a lot of people talk about doing real estate. A lot of people are, I want to eventually get into it. I've been thinking about doing a deal. Maybe I'll buy an investment eventually. Like, you are young and hustling, and you're actually doing that. And that's why I love talking with you. Always new ideas, always new ways of growing your business and doing business. And I'm super impressed by your journey, just knowing you the past couple of years.
Thank you, James.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's start back with when you got started in real estate investing and kind of like briefly what that looked like till now.
Yeah, so we go all the way back from the beginning. I mean, my family, my parents were in real estate, traditional realtors, so they didn't really have much of an investment background. I kind of always grew up in the household. They were doing deals, talking business, etc. When I was in high school, it started coming time to take my SATs, applying to colleges, things like that. And my mom, ever since I was little, was, you're going to go to college, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And as time started creeping up, I was like, that's not really what I want to do. So I knew I kind of wanted to go into real estate. I found out about wholesaling through a TikTok, funny enough. And this guy was like, oh, how to make $10,000 in 30 days. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I looked at his page, I went down the rabbit hole, and then that was really the beginning of it. I ended up joining a mentorship. Through the mentorship, joined a wholesaling team, which is where I gained a lot of experience, a lot of sales experience, which is what helps me now. Joined that team for about 8 months, eventually started to do my own thing. Did, I don't know, probably about 3 deals, like while living with my parents, stacked up like, I don't know, 20, 30 grand. And then took a chance, moved out here to Tampa. Didn't know a single person.
And where were you before Tampa?
I was living at home in Estero, so like Fort Myers, Bonita area. So yeah, took a chance, moved out to Tampa because that was the market I was wholesaling in. I was like, why not, move to that market I'm working in.
What did it feel like at the time? You talked about taking a chance. What did it feel like? Can you take yourself back? What was it, 3 years ago maybe?
Yeah.
4 years ago?
About 3 years ago.
What do you remember feeling at that time when you had a decision to make?
Well, I had made some money. I had the most amount of money I had ever had at that time. I was like 18 years old with $20,000 in the bank. And I was like, okay, this works, but I don't see myself growing the rate that I would want to grow sitting in the comfort of my parents' home, right? I have a great relationship with my parents. There was no like push or nudge or, oh, I want to get out of here. It was more so like on me, right? I want to put my back against the wall, sign up for a $2,000 a month rent payment, live on my own, have my own expenses. And with that is I know what's going to give me the fire that I need to just like take this to the moon. So it was really kind of my own decision that I made to put the pressure on myself.
Were your parents pretty supportive?
Yeah, 1,000. After I sat down with my mom and I told her, I was like, hey, I really don't want to go to college. She understood, and she also saw the patterns. Like as I was growing up, I was always a hustler, right? I flipped shoes. I sold candy in school. I did power washing. I always did something to make a buck. So she saw that, like I had that hustle in me since I was like younger.
Yeah.
And so then she, kind of trusted me and like believed in me. It wasn't like overnight I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
You're going to be the guy that makes it happen.
Sure. So
cool. Okay. So that brought you to Tampa, and you've done quite a few deals here now.
Yeah. I want to say we're pushing like 50 deals now. I know in Q1 of this year, after today, because we closed on the deal today, we're at 13 for the quarter of 2025.
Yeah. And you had a pretty big month too in March, right?
Yeah.
You talked about that just this week.
Yeah. Yeah. In March, we'll do 10 deals. We'll bring in 150,000 net to the company.
Net. So that already is accounting for your marketing expenses and stuff and your team?
Well, because of the business model that I have, I don't really have much marketing expenses. I do have to pay for my team, which is about, $4,000 or $5,000 a month, but I don't pay for like flyers or much else. I mean, I pay for my team, my VAs, which, is a hard cost, but other than that.
Do you feel like, so your age, I've always, ever since meeting you, it's very clear to me, like you're operating at a different level than your age. And age is just a number, but you have this maturity about you that I think very few people at your same age do. Do you ever feel like it's harder to relate to people that are 20, 21, 22 years old?
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. And it's kind of interesting because I don't really hang around people my age too often. I'm always, with people older than me, people doing bigger things than me. But the rare occasions that I am around people my age, I'm like, it just feels weird.
Why?
because we're just, I don't want this to come off weird, but we're just at different levels, different mindsets, different priorities, different goals.
Right? We aren't the same.
You could say that. Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of followed the philosophy as like, don't be the smartest person in the room,
Yeah.
right? That's what I do. I never want to be the smartest person in the room, and when I am, I'm just like, I don't want to be here, type of thing.
Yeah.
Like I want to learn, I want to grow, and being in this room, in this environment, is not going to support that. So,
I mean, you're focused. You're focused. That's been pretty clear since the beginning. You don't really go out and party.
no.
And if that's your thing, that's cool. But also, if you're going to spend all your time doing that, don't expect some great business result.
Right.
What's your team structure look like right now?
Right now, I have 4 virtual assistants, one guy who lives here locally in Tampa, and then myself. So that's 6 of us.
Yeah. And your local, what does he focus on? Is he a lead manager or?
Yeah, he's like an acquisition manager, you could say.
Yeah.
So he helps oversee a couple of the VAs, helps filter out a lot of the leads that we get in. So by the time it comes to me, it's like already highly qualified, and it's like 9 out of 10 times the deal.
Awesome.
And then from there, I'll take it to the dispo process.
So you look back, like in 2 years, you've taken kind of a quantum leap to where you were 2-3 years ago to where you are now. And, go to a new level, you see a new devil kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So like, how has that challenged you from where you were at years ago to where you're at now, and the different kind of person, maybe the different kind of hat you had to wear
Yeah.
as your business grew? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that, right? At the different levels that you go through, the different problems, struggles that you're going to experience. And, I've definitely learned to enjoy the challenge, right? Enjoy the process more so than the destination. And so I almost get excited when there's like a new problem or a new challenge, because it's a sign of growth, right? And so that's something that I like to embrace rather than kind of shy away from.
Yeah. Can you think of any that were uniquely challenging or something that may be recent that came up?
Well, I wouldn't say it was super challenging, but when I first started scaling and building a team, I realized, okay, doing deals is great, but when you're running a team, there's accountability, there is leadership, right? There is selflessness, there is putting others before yourself. There is, me, I'm a very direct person, probably very similar to you. Sometimes you have to maybe change up the wording or speak to people differently than how I would speak to myself per se. So I definitely learned a lot from leadership, or about leadership rather, how to work with people, how to talk to people, effective ways to communicate. So that was a learning process for me.
Yeah. I struggle with that. I think I'll forever struggle with that, because I just want to say exactly what's on my mind, and that's probably not the most respectful thing.
For certain personality types now.
What do you think? Let's talk about the market a little bit. So like in the past 9 to 12 months, we've been in this weird interest rate environment. And what I mean by that is you have these buyers that are like, I'm just going to sit on the sideline. I'm going to wait until interest rates come down. Right. And then they kind of didn't. And so you've got a lot less demand in the market, but people are still buying investment properties. And for a second, I'm talking about your typical like Joe retail buyer who's going to buy his first house. But that, of course, affects what you're doing, because if the flips slow down and the distressed property acquisition slows down, then you may either have to get creative on getting those at a deeper discount because the economy is going to do its thing, or you have to find new ways to acquire those distressed properties and bring them to your end buyers who are really like flippers.
Right.
Like, what have you seen? What's your opinion of all that over the past year?
Well, I would definitely say we came out of an interesting Q4 last year, right? With the elections, Q4 is naturally just a slower time, and the back-to-back hurricanes with flooding that, supposedly we've never seen in 100 years. Yeah. We had a very slow Q4 because of that. But coming out of that now, there's a lot of people coming off of the sidelines. And probably in the last few weeks, I've definitely heard a lot more people saying, hey, the market's kind of slowing down. Values are going down a little bit, so I'm having to buy deeper. So it's a ripple effect, right? So we take that feedback. For me, in our organization, we probably send out and work anywhere from like 2 to 3 deals a week. I have where I like to think, at least, I have a pretty close pulse on the market and where buyers are at and kind of what they're seeing.
Yeah.
But if I'm hearing from multiple buyers that things are slowing down, rates are not going anywhere, values are going down, then I have to adjust on my side, right? And the JV partners that I work with, I got to kind of tell them the same thing. And then it comes down to the sellers and the realtors that we work with, the exact same, relaying that information, right? Hey, days on market is higher. Hey, this comp that you're sending me is 3 months old, but here's an active that's sitting on the market for 70 days for 10,000 less, right? Coming on down the food chain, you could say.
Yeah. What also impresses me about you is you run a lot of this stuff remotely. Like, you're not always in Tampa.
No.
Like the other day, I think I jumped on a call with you. You're like, "Oh yeah, I'm in Colombia." Like not the city in South Carolina, like the country in South
Yeah,
America.
yeah, yeah.
So very few people, I think, would do that. I'm impressed by it, to be clear. Very few people, though, I think at a young age, take this risk, right? Like take this calculated risk, move out of the parents' house, forego going to college, which is definitely that is off the normal path. Start your own business, move to a new city, but now you're using this freedom that you've acquired to kind of like enjoy it some.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like talk to me a little bit about, if you would, what goes into that. You want to make the most of your time.
Well, I mean, traveling. Well, first of all, being an entrepreneur, the reason why, or from what I've heard, is time freedom.
Yeah.
Right.
What's your reason?
Well, I'll tell you right now. But there's a post on Instagram or social media that I've seen going around. It's like people leave their 9 to 5 to work like 12 hours a day, or like 8 to 10 or whatever. Right. And it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I've gotten to a point where, by no means have I made it, or I'm at where I want to be, like long term, but I still want to enjoy the process, right? So going to Colombia it's a great country. I love going there. I know a lot of people there. Your dollar goes so much farther. You can have a much better life experience there. So I enjoy going there, and my business allows me to do that because 90% of the deals I've never actually been or walked the property, which is pretty cool. Of course, it's helpful to be here, especially when there's meetups and stuff like that. But if 90% of my business is remote, then it allows me to travel.
Yeah.
Which I love. I mean, last year, kind of in the summer, I booked a one-way flight to Europe with some other wholesalers that I know, and we just had a blast for like 2.5 weeks. And that's the life that I want to live, just on my own terms with the freedom.
I love it. Let's talk about the future. Do you think you'll always be doing wholesaling? Will you branch out into other things? Is that a means to get to where you want to be? Everybody's got their own unique approach. I'm curious to hear yours.
I mean, right now, that's something that I still think about for the foreseeable future. I still see myself wholesaling, especially with the volume and revenue that we're doing, hitting 6-figure months. There's not a lot of, flippers or builders that are even doing that much. Yeah. At least so I know. And it's taken me a lot to get here. And so right now, my focus is just keeping the main thing, growing what I have, stacking up money, and then maybe potentially like getting into commercial or finding my next play, dumping all that money in there, and then just still young. I have a lot of time, and we've had this conversation before, but one of my main focuses and priorities is just having and building a high income skill.
Yeah.
Because with that, like the possibilities are endless. So.
Yeah. Wholesaling's unique because you're learning, I mean, every stage of the way you're learning real estate, but you're also really in sales.
Yeah. Sales, marketing, negotiating, the acquisition, like the art of the deal.
Yep.
Right. A lot of people jump into deals without learning the acquisitions.
Yeah. And they struggle.
And they struggle and they lose money on their first deal. Right. When I have a lot of younger guys come to me my age and they're like, hey, I want to get started into flipping, I like to tell them, do 5 wholesale deals first.
Yeah.
Right. Because it teaches you the marketing. It teaches you how to negotiate, teaches you how to correctly value property, which is extremely important. You know this, James. That's the name of the game.
That's why I buy really low.
Yeah, right. It's not buy high, sell low, right? It's buy low, sell high. Yeah. And if you don't understand that, then you're not going to go very far.
You talked about 6-figure months. Here's a recap of my development account, by the way. November plus 130K, December minus 40K, January minus 10K, February minus 10K, March plus 300K.
Yeah.
April plus 200K. So, dude, it's like, I mean, it all works out it's over a longer period of time, especially on some of these zoning and entitlement deals we're doing. But it's just interesting the difference between the two things.
Yeah. And if we're comparing the two, like you're so much more exposed, right? Like for me, I'm just flipping the paper. So if there's a deal that doesn't work out, I cancel the deal and I walk away, right? But if you have a deal 6 months in, the market tanks, you're out of gas.
Right. I might have done all that work for free. I think we buy pretty deep though on the ones that we do take on that will hold for like 6 to 12 months and just get them ready and sell them off to a builder. Doing some of those, and we buy them pretty deep. So what would make this year, you think? Right now we're kind of at the end of Q1. What would make this year hyper successful for you? Because we have 9 months left.
Well, my goal is to hit 500,000 in net revenue for the year, and in quarter one we're going to do 200,000. Yeah, so we're already on a good pace so far.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned before, March was just like a crazy month, right? February we did 3 deals, or January we did 3 deals, February we did 3 deals, and then March is just 10, right? I think the most I've done before that was like 4 deals in a month. So it's just like all the stars aligned for March. So now we're just working on trying to repeat that consistently. And to answer your question, what would make it a hyper successful year? I mean, if we blow the 500K mark goal like out the water, that would be pretty cool.
So how many of the deals that you're doing are, I guess if you could break them down into categories, like some you have direct to agent because you have a great real estate agent network. And by the way, plug for Sean, like if you're a real estate agent and you have a property in the Tampa area or Central Florida area, and it may not be the right fit to actually take it to market, maybe the owners need a quick sale, maybe there's some funkiness with the property, like Sean is a great connection to help you out. Quick plug for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we kind of put them into silos of the different types of deals that you do, would you explain that just briefly? Maybe to somebody who's like less familiar with the wholesaling world.
We do a little bit of a different marketing strategy, you could say, than most wholesalers. So most wholesalers go the direct to seller route. So they will reach out in different marketing forms directly to the seller, mailers, texting, calling, etc., PPC, PPL. But we work with realtors, right? So we do marketing to realtors via cold calling and texting. And so we will reach out, hey, we're looking for a fixer-upper property in the area. Do you have anything? That's kind of what the initial conversation would look like. We'd share our information with them. We'd put them in a, text campaign that's all automated. When you have that with 15,000 realtors in 6 different counties, you will get addresses, you will get leads, right? One of the ways that we get deals in March, we have 3 direct to agent deals that will bring us like just under $90,000 net. And then the other sources through other wholesalers, right? So wholesaling is interesting because you have to make the same sale twice, right? You've got to lock up the deal, which is the first half of the battle. And then you got to work on selling it, right? And there's a lot of wholesalers that only work on the acquisition, locking up the deal. And when it comes to the dispo, they're like, crap, I don't have buyers. They struggle, right? I have maybe 1 or 2 VIPs. They pass on it. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right. So then that's where a lot of these kind of JV deals and what some people might call daisy chains come in. So I have a lot of people that reach out and text me directly. Hey, I've got this deal under contract. Can you help me bring a buyer?
Well, let's make a distinction here. I think there's a clear difference between a daisy chain and a JV.
For sure.
And I'll tell you my understanding of it from a buy, because I don't really wholesale. I'm the end buyer on.
I love to hear it. Yeah.
A daisy chain is when, let's say, some other dude, some third party, John is sending out his deal, 123 Main Street, and I get that deal, and then you get sent it too because you're on John's buyers list. And without talking to John, you also send it to me and add $5,000 or $10,000 to your end. So I get it from John at 100K, and I see it from you for 110K. To me, that is a daisy chain.
Okay.
But it's different, totally different, when I get it from John, and then a week later at 100K, and then a week later I get it from you, and it's also at 100K, and you guys have talked. So now if I say, hey, I saw it from this other person, or hey, are you direct to the seller?
Right.
And you can say, hey, I'm actually working with this guy on this.
Yeah.
And you guys both know about it. That's the key difference. Like everybody's on the same page. I mean, I've seen, we were talking recently in one of our chats, like all the way from like, you have ear A to B and B to C, all the way from like E to F. And there's so many people adding shit to their, it's just like, here's the issue. I have no problem with people making money. If everyone needs to make like $5,000 or $2,000 or whatever in that chain, I have no issue with that. The issue is when there's a challenge, when there's some kind of title issue or something with the survey.
Yeah.
I just did a title objection the other week on a survey encroachment. Like these things happen in real estate. You want to be protected as a buyer.
We'll be back to the show in 1 second. On budget, on schedule, and high quality. These are all critical factors with any trade that we work with. We have a great relationship in working with them in Tampa, and I want you to be able to work with them too. Check them out.
Having all of that fluff in between makes
Communication is
really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about daisy chain versus JV?
Well, it's interesting that you give me your perspective. I think probably anything that is involving 3 wholesalers or more could be considered a daisy chain. You do have situations where, John will send out a deal at 100K and he'll send it to me and he'll say, hey, sell this deal for me, but you got to add on top.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're in communication. And so he'll send it to you at 100. I'll send it to you at 105. So in that perspective, it may look like a daisy chain, but me and John are still in communication, right?
That's a key thing.
Right. And for me to work a deal, one non-negotiable requirement that we have is to have a a regular or a redacted contract. What a redacted contract is, a copy of the contract, but they can kind of black out the purchase price and EMD sensitive information so it doesn't feel like I'm watching their pockets.
Yeah.
I just need proof that this is under contract and it's a valid contract.
Yeah.
Because I have buyers also that want a copy of it to see the contract that they're buying, additional terms, things like that.
Always.
And so I won't work a deal if I don't have that.
As a buyer, I won't take on an assignment of contract as the buyer
Yeah.
if I don't do that and if I can't get a survey.
Yeah.
The risk just isn't worth it. Because it's for me, the survey is a little bit different, but for me, it's a time risk. My time is super valuable. Your time is super valuable. And if I'm now starting to spend that resource, my time, on a deal, I want to know that like I have the rights to buy it by being assigned.
Absolutely.
If somebody's not willing to share, like if a wholesaler is not willing to share a redacted contract, that's a giant red flag for me.
Yeah, I just disregard them. I'm just like, okay, I'm not even. Yeah.
Something funny is up, and honestly, I'm not a detective that's gonna find out what's wrong with your deal.
Right.
I don't feel like spending time on it.
And also, like for the other people that do JV models, I think it's also very important on who you work with. Like for me, we have a lot of JV partners, but they're all hand selected. They're all hand picked. I don't just work with anybody. I have plenty of people send me deals that I could work, but because maybe I don't know them that well, I don't know how they run their business, I choose not to work with them and only work with the trusted people that I know. And that helps eliminate a lot of maybe title issues, communication issues, me looking bad in front of a buyer or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it becomes kind of like an extension of your reputation.
Absolutely. 1000%.
Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah. What's got you excited? What's got you like ramped up with where we're at in the Tampa market in 2025? Stock market is volatile. We talk about crypto sometimes. Like what's got you excited, Sean?
I mean, this month is exciting, right? 6-figure months at 21 years old. That's a huge milestone.
Aggressive, man. It's cool. Yeah, cool to see.
Huge milestone for me. So now I got to figure out kind of what to do with the money, right? I'm in real estate, so it would make sense to buy real estate, but my business is very time consuming. And so if I were to get into a flip, for example, for me, it's like active income versus active income. So that's why I've been looking at kind of crypto and stocks, because I can just buy whatever, right? Ethereum or stocks, Tesla, whatever, and then just kind of let it sit there and continue to do my thing, right? If I were to have a flip, then I'm in another business, right? Because now I'm jumping into construction, which I don't really have too much experience in, dealing with contractors and make sure they're doing the right job and this and that and inspections and dealing with the city, so that's a whole other ballgame that I'm not too interested in getting involved in, at least right now.
You've done some private lending a little bit too, right?
I have, yeah.
Did you like that?
I did. I liked it. I partnered with a very reputable flipper in the area. He's in the group. He's known for the amazing work that he does on projects. He gave me an amazing rate. The term was for 6 months. I got fully paid out in 4.5. That was great.
Would you do more of them?
Absolutely, I would.
Yeah. What are some things that you like to look for when you're evaluating if you would enter like a private loan type situation?
Well, number one, I definitely wouldn't do it with anybody because I've been involved with private money loans that went south for sure. So
we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having a track record, a proven track record, right? And this individual has successfully done, I want to say over 30 flips, right? I think social credibility is another thing because regarding the past deals that kind of went a little bit south, they didn't really have so much social credibility. If things were to go south, not to say that I'm going to like go to social media and just like completely crap on the guy, but he's got a reputation. And if he messes up this deal or he doesn't pay me back or, things go south, then there's a lot more that he can suffer from than just financially.
There's a little bit of leverage there
from that deal, right? We go to a lot of the same meetups. We're in the same groups. We know a lot of the same people. And so that's something that, that are green flags per se.
Cool. Okay, so let's talk. You mentioned a second ago, you saw a private loan within the past few years go south.
Yeah.
What happened there?
So that one was interesting. These two individuals that I had met at a business conference, they were wholesalers, they were flippers. It seemed like they had a proven track record, but I'll take it on me. I didn't do the proper due diligence to ask for HUDs and to ask for addresses and do this and that. I kind of just saw on social media pictures of the before and afters and their stories, and it kind of looked like they were doing things. They had came to me. They had a house in South Florida, kind of over on the Miami side. It was going to be like this multi-6-figure flip. They needed, $30,000 or $40,000 for, honestly, it was a couple years ago. I don't remember exactly what.
If I could jump in really quick, I always like to know why. You're doing a big 6-figure flip. Why? Or why do you only need 30 or 40? To me, that's like, it's not necessarily immediately a red flag, but it's like yellow. And sure, it's definitely yellow. Like, did you run out of renovation funds?
Well, they hadn't bought it yet, so.
Right, but there's something there.
Right.
There's some questions there. Somebody just was talking with me Monday in the group, And they're like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this deal to bridge them. They ran out of renovation funds. I was like, can I frame this a different way? And I don't know this person, but this is what I'm hearing. Someone who you're saying is a savvy investor had a plan, and that plan to date has not gone according to how they thought it would, according to their initial vision. And now they want to borrow something of yours that's valuable that you want back plus a return. And they're expecting it to go better from this point on now that you're involved, which has already gone bad. It's not a no, but there's definitely some questions that need to be asked.
Right.
Sorry to
No, you're
jump on your story.
You're good. And that was also partially on me that I wasn't asking the right questions at that time. I was probably 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Right. So I was definitely still getting my feet wet. So they needed money. At that time, I didn't have money. I remember I had an aunt that kind of saw what I was doing. My mom was also kind of, and so they were talking. She's like, yeah, like I've got some money. I'd love to put it in the deal that you guys have or somebody that you know. So like these guys reached out to me and I was like, hey, like I've got these guys. It's not my deal. I'm not super involved in not managing the project or anything, but they need, this amount of money. They're willing to pay this much of a return. This is kind of the outline of the project. This is what they're going to buy for, rehab, ARV, etc. She agreed to it, sent them the money. From their side, there was a lot of things that went wrong, a lot of unexpected rehab that came up, which is pretty typical. But then what was really a red flag or a turnoff was they were kind of ghosting me, kind of not, right? And it was two partners, and I'm pretty sure one of them blocked me because I would call him asking for updates, call him, no updates, and then it would just go to voicemail, and then my text messages weren't getting delivered.
You get that Google Voice number up and running.
Dude, where we at? Like, we are like 3 months overdue. I haven't received an interest payment. Like, what's going on? Oh, yeah, we're working on it. We're supposed to list next week, blah, blah, blah. And it was just on and on and on and on. By the grace of God, they finally listed it, sold it. We got paid out, so it wasn't like worst case scenario where they lost all the funds, but like it was definitely an eye-opening experience. Like because it was my reputation as well with my family, like, yeah, lucked out that we got paid out.
Yeah, that is good. I've lost money on business deals before.
Yeah.
It happens sometimes. Like where I'm at with business deals now, this is just my personal thing. This isn't financial advice. This isn't tax advice. This isn't legal advice. For me now, if I'm investing into a business and that is not collateralized by real estate, and then the only way that I do it is if I have some kind of voting share of equity or a controlling vote in that arrangement. And if I don't, it's not for me. Here's why I do it that way. Every time I've not followed those guidelines, for me, it went bad. Every time. Why would I keep learning that lesson and slam my head against the wall?
Right.
So I just learned from it. But I prefer it to be collateralized by real estate. It's just way easier.
Sure.
Cool. So we've covered a lot. Got a lot of exciting things going on. What do you think you'll be doing in like 10 years?
I get that question a lot. Even 5 years is like very far for me to think about because just 10 years ago, I was 11 years old. Right. So for me,
crazy, right?
Yeah. For me to think 10 years in advance, I'll be 31. Ideally, in a perfect world, I'd love to be, I guess, retired. But when I say that, not necessarily like kick back, not doing anything, but like to a point where if I chose to stop working, like I'm set. Yeah. Right. So what's next? I mean, I don't know, kind of like what I mentioned before. I think dabbling, possibly, I haven't even put too much thought into it, but maybe in commercial would be pretty cool. Like large multifamily, 100+ units.
The way I got involved in commercial, and I do recommend it if people have money, and you do have money, if you're making $100,000 in a month, investing as a limited partner in some of these multifamily deals.
Yeah.
I just invested in one last week. Like it filled up super quick. This can be a great project. I'm excited about it. Personally, I think that has been the move for me. When it's your own money on the line and you're going to evaluate the merits of a project knowing that, you tend to look at it a different way.
Right.
I mean, kind of like the lesson that you learned with the private loan, like having that in the rearview mirror now helps your lens in the future
1,000
by which to gauge a project. Me doing that in 2020, 2021, I've invested in some every single year. Most of my net worth in real estate is in those types of commercial projects. 3 weeks ago, I invested through this office. I invested in a commercial retail project that's local here in Tampa Bay area. How was the deal structured? What return would work for me? Being in those deals for 1 year, 2 years go by, seeing how they go. It's really helped me in a very genuine way identify what opportunities I like now. For me personally, what works well for our business is like having these different verticals within real estate. And what's kind of interesting is they kind of feed each other. So we kind of got into some leadership. We talked about new level, new devil, forged you as a new person as you went through those different stages. What are some key things that you think you've done to build a pretty effective team? And when I say pretty effective, I think you're there because you don't really get to sustain multi 5-figure, 6 figures, multi 6-figure months if you don't have a good team.
Right. Very important. One thing I see very often with virtual assistants, especially is, people are like, yeah, I want to start a wholesaling business. Where do I hire the VAs? Okay, boom, 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 onboard them. They're going to watch these 5 Loom videos and then they're just going to bring me 3 deals a month that I'll make 20,000 on.
And you just press the button.
I know, right? I see it all the time. I'm just like, man, if it was that easy, right? So, I mean, there's so much that goes into it, especially when you have a virtual team. I mean, what we do, for example, what our structure looks like, every single morning we have a 9 a.m. meeting. There's so much that goes into that because we make sure everybody's on time. We review calls, we go over updates, we go over good things, bad things, things we need to work on, things that we're strong at. So I think just the 9 a.m. meetings are super important. One thing we implemented about, I want to say 8 to 10 months ago was weekly one-on-ones. So me personally, as the owner operator of the organization, I will have a sit down one-on-one with every single member on my team. We will go over the KPI sheet that we have, compare it to the goals that we had set, kind of like the metrics. Like in the beginning of the year, we sat down and we're like, hey, with the KPIs that you have, what is a manageable number for each one of these KPIs that you can hit, right? And I want you to tell me that number, because once you tell me that number, I'm going to hold you accountable every single week, right? So it's not like me, I'm like, yeah, make $200 a day. And then I get with you every week and you're not able to make $200 a day. And I'm like, what the heck? Yeah, right. Because then I'm able to say, well, we sat down in January and you told me that this was a number that you can hit. And you gave me permission that I could hold you accountable so we can hit these goals that we have for you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the weekly one-on-ones are really great for accountability, as well as just having that connection with your team, right? Especially if you're not in the grind with them, on the computer, like 5 days a week with them, 8 hours a day, whatever it may be, and you're maybe more out in the field, having those moments are really important, because when you have that disconnect, then that's when a lot of people start having VAs where their performance goes down, or they start like working for somebody else on the side when you didn't really know about that. The 9 a.m. meetings are super important. The weekly one-on-ones are super important. And like one other thing that we hit on the one-on-ones as well is like, we just talk about their personal life. Or like, hey, how are things going for you? Right? How's your family? I know your daughter was sick. Like, how's she doing?
Yeah.
Right. Hey, like I know you told me by the end of March you wanted to lose 15 pounds. How are we doing there?
Yeah.
Right. Like, yo, send me a picture of the scale. Where are we at?
Yeah.
Holding it accountable. Like I have one VA where it was his goal to get braces by the end of March. And he is like horrified of anything having to do with the dentist. And so before he gets braces, he has to remove his wisdom teeth. And I remember he came to me in the beginning of March. He's like, hey, I need to take these 2 days off because I'm going to get my wisdom teeth removed and I'm going to be out of it. I won't be able to really see it. And I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And then yesterday or 2 days ago on our one-on-one, I was like, hey, like what ended up happening? Because I don't remember you taking those 2 days off. And he's like, oh man, if I'm being honest with you, like I just chickened out. I was just like getting so nervous and I'm just like, I didn't do it. And I was like, dude, what the heck? I have here that one of your rocks, shout out the book Traction, was to get your braces done by the end of March. And to get your braces done, you need to remove your wisdom teeth. And you canceled your appointment. So what are we doing? And he's like, oh man, I know. I really want it. And having his teeth fixed was a big goal that he had. So I'm like, dude, call them right now. Call them right now and make the appointment.
I'm going to stay on the line.
Yeah. And he literally did that. He's like, you know what? You're right, man. I'm going to call him. I'll do it for next week. I was like, okay, cool. So we called him right there in the middle of our one-on-one. He set the appointment. The next week was not available. This Friday was. So tomorrow he's going to go get his wisdom teeth taken out. And I'm like, all right, dude, you're not allowed to just call these people and waste our time again. Because the first time he canceled, like the lady was kind of upset because she kind of called his bluff that he was just calling out for no reason. And so like he right then and there made the appointment. He's like, all right, like I'm going to do it, Sean. I'm going to do it. And so just like small moments like that, me being there, pushing him to hit a goal that he wanted to have is important. And I really feel like those small things really do add up and make a difference. So
it's good. It's good team culture.
Yeah, team culture.
I love that, man. So you're making a difference. And so you have a U.S. employee here. How often do you guys interact in person, or is it virtual? But
one change that we made going into 2025 was he lives here in Tampa, right? He lives in North Tampa. We would work virtually. So he would work in his house. I would work in my apartment. Going into 2025, I have a friend who's crushing in Jacksonville, and he has an office, right? And the wholesaling community is very tight, and everybody's like, dude, how is he crushing? How is he crushing? And I've been able to spend a lot of time with him. He's one of the guys that we go to Columbia with, and I'm like, dude, like, what do you think is the secret? And he's like, well, there's a lot of secrets, but I think a big one is just working in person every day, having that team culture. And he's like, you should try it, right? You don't even need an office. just have them come over to the apartment or go to a cafe or Starbucks or whatever and just work together. And so we started that this year, and I feel like that's really been able to make a lot, like it's a game changer for us. Good, because it keeps him accountable, it keeps me accountable. I'm right there with him. So in the middle of the day, I'll be like, yo, where are we at with the KPIs? How many offers have you put out? Right. And I'm right there next to him, so I can hear him working, and he's not taking a nap in the middle of the day, maybe like he was before.
He's gonna see this.
Yeah, I think that's been really good. It's been able to grow our, professional and personal relationship a lot. So we have a lot more trust within each other. We bounce ideas off of each other more often. Since we're together, we're able to just throw things out. Hey, let's try this instead of that, right? Hey, I just heard that call that you made. Let's try this instead of that. Let's switch these things up. And so that's another kind of aspect of the team culture. But
Love it, man.
Yeah.
Love it.
Some of the leadership lessons you're learning at the phase of life you're at is just really incredible.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thanks for joining us on the show, man.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for
Keep it up. Keep it up.
Try and keep
Proud
up.
of you, right? It's awesome.